Welcome to episode 5, season 2 of the Lulu Logic podcast. Today's guest is from Erie, Pennsylvania. He went to the University of Iowa and was a 4-year starter at defensive back, spent time with the Pittsburgh Steelers before heading to the CFL with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He made his name as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Played on a couple other teams, the Montreal Alouettes, the Ottawa Red Blacks, and he became the first DB to ever win Defensive Player of the Year, Most Outstanding Player of the Year award. He's a 2-time CFL All-Star, 5-time East All-Star in his 13-year career. And recently, he is now a member of the 2010 to 2019 All-Decade team. Congratulations on that. Welcome to the show, Jovon Johnson.
Always a pleasure to talk to my man.
What's up?
Same old, man. Just trying to be great at this next chapter of life. You know, taking it one day at a time. You know, making sure these X's and O's fit correctly so that these young men can go out there and perform to the best of their ability.
People used to tell me we look alike, and then I started gaining weight. So I was like, man, I don't look like JJ. Somebody told me that at the 2009 Grey Cup. I guess we were all hanging out at some CFL party in Calgary. And they're like, man, you and Jovon look just alike.
I can see that a little bit. I
think it's just the shape of our face.
Yeah. That's funny. And
you're a little darker than me. You're a little darker.
Yeah, I'm a little darker. Yeah, I've been in the sun a little bit too much.
I'm in Canada, man. The sun just now getting back out. It leaves for a while. Leaves for a few months.
It's about 80 today around here.
Oh, that's good. How you been doing, though, other than that, man? Everything's good with COVID, and how's that process been?
Yeah, it's been a challenging process, but you know, finally we got it to a point where we can play the spring season. So we got the season canceled in the fall. We can play in the spring. Now they got it a little bit under control. We had to test every week on Wednesday, which is dreadful, but you know, you got to do it in order for us to play a game on Saturday. We got to get tested Wednesday, get the results back on Thursday. If for whatever reason there is any sort of outbreak on either team, we could be playing somebody else by Saturday. So Friday, we find out if we get a new opponent or not. So it's definitely challenging, but you just got to be prepared for the moment. You know, again, making sure the X's and O's are aligned. You know, you're going to call what you play and what you do well. You know, that's why we practice throughout the week. But it's been productive for us. We got some practices in the fall to kind of see what these young guys were going to all be about. We have a very young roster, so it's, you know, we predominantly freshmen and sophomore. We got about 7 seniors and 7 juniors, so we're really young. So we definitely got some talent that are under the radar right now.
Well, that's good. So you really have to stick to let's be good at what we're good at. When you don't know who your opponent's going to be half the time, and it show up and play. And if we're good in our fundamental skills and our scheme can uphold, then we'll go out and try to win some games. How's it going so far this year? Have y'all played any games yet, or what's the record?
Yep. So we played 5. We're 2-3 on the season. The first 2 games we just kind of started out slow. Didn't really understand what was going on. For a lot of them, it was their first college football games. You know, nerves and you know not being where they were supposed to be. So we got hit with a couple big plays. Constantly preaching, don't give up the plus 15-yard plays. If we can limit plus 15-yard plays, we're going to be in a lot of games. The last 3, you know, we didn't give up the big play, and we gave ourselves a chance to win. So our last game was the one that we put together the most, all 3 phases, you know, offense, defense, special teams. We put it all together, and we ended up winning 42-19. So that was the best game so far. But, I mean, we took our lumps the first 2, and then the last 3, we've been in the game.
At Defiance, what level is that? Is that what level is that?
Division 3.
Division 3. So when I see you on Instagram and I see you out there, and a lot of the times you're talking about players coming in You're looking for players to send film and to do things. How do you really approach and how do you use social media to find players? And how is it when you talk to players, um, figuring out that level, right? Because I mean, everybody at some point, you going to Iowa, everybody wants to go somewhere. I was a Division II walk on, but everybody has an idea when they're playing football where they want to go or what they'd like to do. But when
Right.
you sit down in front of them and you're like, look, this is who I am, this is what I've done, this is what I've accomplished, this is where I've been, and this is where I can help you get to. How's that conversation go?
A lot of times, I kind of when I start recruiting a guy, I always ask him like, "What's your ultimate goal? Where do you see yourself in 4 years?" Because a lot of times, like you said, a lot of these young kids, they evaluate themselves as what they envision themselves to be. But as a coach, the coaches might not evaluate you at the same level that you think you're at. So, I just have real conversation with them. Like, listen, I always try to recruit, hire like D2s, guys that are scholarship players that probably might not make it with the grades and things like that. And then I tell those guys who have that kind of potential to be able to play at the next level, I tell them, look, man, I've been there, I've done that. I know what to expect. I can help you get there, but you have to put the work in. Because again, I can't go out and play for you. I already did that. So you got to make sure every day you're getting 1% better and, paying attention to the details, working your technique, being an ultimate competitor. And I think a lot of young guys struggle with competition when the odds are stacked against them, they just fold and they don't want to put the work in and try to overcome the adversity of playing the game. You're not always going to be the best player on the field, but what are you going to do to make sure that you put yourself in the question as being the best player on the field? And a lot of them end up checking out, transferring, leaving, going back home, saying they should have, would have, could have, and then they become a story that people just talk about and wonder what could have happened. But the guys that stick it out for a period of time, those are the guys that end up achieving all the things that they want to achieve. And then, we got a couple senior guys that I've been with for the last 2 years that weren't really used to being pushed. And then when you push, they would pull, and then they would kind of rebel against the coaching. And then when they started to build a relationship with you, they started to see what you was all about. And then those guys started to play a lot better and see themselves accomplishing things that they never thought they could accomplish. So I got a DB right now, and that was all conference last year. He's a senior this year, and he's probably going to get some looks, NFL looks. I've talked to some NFL coaches and GMs about him. Definitely could be a CFL player. He has the tools and the skill set, but if he never got coached or pushed, he would have never thought that stuff would have been attainable because nobody really challenged him at all. He's a kid from Detroit. Mentally, he's like he got that
Charleston
attitude about it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he got that factor, and there's some things you just can't teach a player, but he got that, and that's what I like about him the most. But when it comes to recruiting, I just try to be honest with him. We're not a scholarship program. So, you might have to use financial aid, all the means that we can get you scholarship money. And then you might have to pay a little something and, make it worth it. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you get your degree. That's the most important part. That's why they label student athlete the way they do. You get your degree first, and then, whatever happens in the football world, that's something that you can hang your hat on, but, you can never take that degree away. So we always preach that too.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good that you can sit down with these kids and just be honest with them. Because I think, that's sometimes your parents, they're not honest. Sometimes you see people that hype these kids up in the community. And I tell my nephew, I'm like, it's not about being the best athlete at your school. There's over 1,700 schools in Texas. It's not about being the best in your region. It's not about being the best in your state. Like, you understand there's 119 D1s. I don't know how many D2s and D3s there are, but I'm pretty sure there's probably not over 300 schools. 300 or 400 schools when you're looking at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And just in Texas alone at 1,700 schools, being the best player at your school doesn't even qualify you to be in the top 1% of your college choices. Right. So it has to go so much further, and you have to have that compete level, right? You had that compete level. You wasn't afraid to step on the field and compete with guys. And, it shows that you're all-decade team. What was that feeling like when you got the award?
I mean, I honestly was surprised because shit, I haven't played. I feel like forever, but it's been a few years, and then in my last 2 years in Saskatchewan, I mean, kind of up and down. I had a good year in 18 and 17, but 18 I was on and off the roster, and you just never know. But I guess the years before that, those 7 years in the early 2010s, was good years for me. So part of it probably was the fact that I won Defensive Player of the Year in 11. But I did have some consistent years, in the early part of that decade. And the players around me, man, they pushed me to just be better than I ever thought I was going to be. Like, Clint Kidd and Super and Brandon Stewart and those guys, Hefney, every day was a challenge. It was like they would challenge me, like, who's going to come out with the most interceptions in practice today? And then practice would just be turned up. Like, we took practice as an opportunity for us to challenge each other and challenge the offense to see who was going to win the day. And then on game days, it felt like, it was easy for us. It was easy because we were so used to competing against each other that when we competed against other people, it was just like, we've been doing this for a long time, so let's just go out and ball. So
when I congratulated, man, you said they were still messed up what I did.
Yeah.
Fill me in on that. I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you know what? Come on the podcast and let's talk about it.
Oh, man. I remember multiple times vividly when we played Calgary when you was there. And that my first game, they told me throughout the week, they was like, we don't know who's going to play Sam. So I'm like, well, fuck it. Put me at Sam. We'll just rock with it and see how it goes. And then the first game we played against y'all in Calgary, and I'm like, oh, shit. I should have second thought this decision. I got to play against Nick the first game. I'm like, you talking about one of the best to ever do it. I don't watch this man annihilate people and decapitate defensive ends on crack blocks, and you telling me I got to go out and cover him for the whole game? You must be kidding. So, you hit me with a couple routes, and to me being a cover guy, I'm like, I'm a cover corner. Like, I can get in there and hold my own. And then, I got routed up a few times against you, missed a bunch of tackles. They ran the ball at me. I don't know how many times. I said, you know what, maybe Coach Sam ain't for me. So, that definitely was my one game. My one game at Sam, and it was over with that fast, quick as it got started.
Dude, I told you coming into it. I said, man, because I remember the week very vividly. Y'all had a bunch of DBs that were very talented.
Yeah.
And somebody went down at Sam. I can't remember what DB went down at Sam, but I don't know if it was Kent or one of the DBs went down at Sam. And I remember reading the paper that they didn't know who was going to play Sam, and you were like, you know what, I'll do it. One, it shows two competitiveness to step up and play a position you've never played for. And for people that don't know, the CFL, the Sam position is one of the hardest.
Yes,
like you got to play the run. One of my last episodes I had Shannon James on here. You got to play the run. You got to play DB. You got to do everything in the box. And in the way that I used to put everything together, from making it look like I'm going to come block you and then swim you and run an out route. And DBs would always brace themselves for me to hit them, and then I'm swimming them into my out route. And they're like, oh, shit. Or, jogging off the ball. Like you're playing one to the boundary. That guy's coming off the ball 3-4 steps every time. I'm jogging off the ball, look like I ain't doing nothing. And then here I am getting an 8-yard catch. Right. Yep. So a lot of those things with rhythm and flow was just so different. But you got to pick that game. Hank threw one behind me. You got to pick. I was so pissed off. Because I was really in my flow. Like I'm about to show you that you do not come in here. And for me, it was kind of a personal thing. You stepped up to say, hey, I want to go down there and challenge this man. And no, it was a fun game. No, I remember it. I'm glad I told you after the game. I said, man, you better take your ass back out to the edge.
Yeah,
this ain't what you want.
Twice. You ain't had to tell me twice. I said, shit, you know what? You absolutely right. Go and put me back on the corner. I can't get in there. That's too much work.
Man, corners is coming downhill. You got the fullbacks coming out cutting you and everything in there. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in that box.
That's what made me respect Chip Cox even more. For the years that he played, because man, just being in there and seeing how hard it is to be able to go in there and do it, like I respected him even more after that because of just that ebb and flow of playing Sam. Like it's definitely the hardest position to play on the field for sure.
Yeah, there's so much going on in that box, and nobody really understands quite what's going on. And nobody understands the difficulties of fullbacks motioning across, linebackers in your way, all the motion running across this side, running across that side.
Yeah.
It's a little different when you're coming from the halfback positions because you can be deeper. Most times Sam play a little bit closer to the box to protect against the run and things like that. But, man, I always say I applaud you for stepping up and doing that for your team because somebody had to take the bullet, and you took it.
Yeah, I took it. I took it.
But you got to pick out of it. Hank threw you one. He threw you a bone.
He gave me a free one for sure.
Hey, if you'd have seen, I wish I could post a picture of my face when you got that pick. It was just like I was just like, I cannot believe this because I was so ready. I was so ready for that one. No, that was fun though. But yeah, like. One of the things I've always seen too, like you post a lot of stuff on social media, and I look at your videos and some of the things. Seems to me you still want to play. You still want to play?
I don't know. I mean, part of me, yes, but the day-to-day grind of being a player and having to work out all the time and get on the field and do extra work and conditioning and all that. I don't know if I got the willpower to go back out there and have to get in shape and do all that over again. I mean, I do it at practice with our DBs just to kind of show and tell, but as far as playing, I don't know. I had to take some serious thought into that if I had the opportunity to do it. I could do it for maybe a year, maybe two, but I mean, it definitely would be something I have to take serious consideration about because I don't know if I really have that drive to just keep doing it again.
Do you think you get the credit you deserve?
I mean, I think yes and no. I think a lot of times, all of the stuff that I've accomplished kind of gets overlooked. I mean, being a player for so long and doing things for so long, oftentimes it's expected. Like people expected me to go out there and turn the ball over or get interceptions and make plays. But, the amount of things and the different ways that I affected the game, they don't really give me credit for. I'm the all-time leading punt return yardage guy in Winnipeg's history. I never really get talked about as a returner. I
didn't know that.
4 punt return touchdowns in the season. Probably had 7, but I got about 3 or 4 of them called back. But, I was able to affect. I even returned kickoffs that people probably don't even know about. I just affected the game in so many ways that a lot of people don't give me credit for. I was solid as they come as a DB, consistent, but, I think I still left plays out there a lot of times. I dropped a lot of picks, but I definitely affected the game, and I don't get credit for all that I did. I do get credit for, turning the ball over and making interceptions, but I affected the game in more ways than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very I didn't even know that you had the record for punt return yards in Winnipeg history.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's crazy stuff. when I first came into the league, way before you got there, I was a punt returner. In college, I averaged 21.9 a punt return my senior year. And, I returned punts till Rambo came in. We kind of split duties. Well, my rookie year, me and Wayne McGarity split duty. Then my second year, me and Rambo split duty. And then my third year, it was just Rambo. And then Marcus Howard came in and some of those guys. So my punt return days were done at that point. It was like, yeah, you just go play receiver. You know what? Come out here and block somebody on punt team. I had a block punt too against John Ryan. So that was pretty cool. It was in Winnipeg too when he used to play for Winnipeg. But yeah, man, and it just goes to show that some of these things just aren't talked about. We do see people as kind of one-sided or what they do, and special teams, unless you're like a special teams person, they don't even talk about Brandon Banks on special teams anymore, really, because of he's offensive now.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're just a special teams guy, they're very special, and we understand how they change games. And in Calgary, our motto, Huff would always say, "You come out on offense or defense. You don't come out on special teams," because it's such an important play. But when we look at it from a fan's point of view, I guess, or just when we analyze sports, we don't really take in consideration guys that do both.
Yep. And I did both. I mean, I returned punts, I returned kickoffs. At one point in my career, I even told them, when the guy took over for me as a punt returner, I told him, well, if you're going to take me off punt return, put me on the corner on punt return so that I can block for him. And things like that. I got a missed field goal return for 118 for a touchdown. I got plays that, I just affected the game on special teams that really never, ever gets talked about at all.
Let's play your best.
Mm-hmm.
Your best 3 punt returners that you think to ever do it.
In the CFL?
Any league.
Or any league. Okay. I'm going to have to go with Devin Hester. My man from the Chiefs, the little guy.
Dante Hall.
Joystick.
Texas A&M.
And then I go with Brandon Banks. I think Brandon Banks is special.
Hey man, that boy got speed.
Yeah, he got next level speed.
Were you in the league when Bashir Levingston played?
No, I wasn't.
Or was that before you?
Yeah, it was before.
That's another dude. He's a DB, but he was like Brandon Banks, but bigger. He played DB. He was a little taller and bigger.
Scary.
And one time we played Toronto. We missed a field goal, I think it was. Or it was a missed field goal or a punt. But he just starts walking towards our sideline. And, he starts jogging. He's in the back of the end zones. He basically cuts it off 5 yards for the sideline. By the time he hits the sideline, he's at the end zone line. He runs a straight line, outruns everybody for a touchdown.
Yeah, that's different. That's different now.
I wish I had the video to show this. It was different. I'm looking like, okay, he's about to just take this safety. Looks like he's wasting some time. And then he just takes off on a straight line. Not many people can run a straight line and outrun angles and everything, right? So those are different speeds. What's your top 5 DBs?
Ever. Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Darrell Revis. I'm going to have to go with Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson, and Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott bring that thunder.
Yeah.
4 great cover guys, and then you go in with Ronnie Lott to finish it off.
Yeah. Covers first, safety. I would put Ed Reed in that category. You could kind of go with a bunch of different guys at the safety position, but I didn't want to go 5 corners. So
yeah, In the CFL, what was the top 3 guys hardest to cover?
Top 3. You, Nick Lewis, Kenyon Rambo, and Arlen
Jermaine
Bruce.
Copeland. Go ahead and say it. No, Arlen Bruce is that deal, man.
Arlen Bruce was nice. He was so slick with it too. He was nice.
I always say Rambo's the best receiver.
He was the best receiver I played against, hands down.
Dude, just being able to run as fast as he could, chop it down, break it down, come up out of it running, open his gate, run any route in the playbook. That dude, to me, that was the most gifted receiver. And I'm talking about like that I've seen personally. I've seen a lot of NFL guys that can't do what he did.
Yeah, he's different.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
That dude is something different. But, I appreciate you putting me on the list, man. That's awesome. I feel like that was different, though. I don't know. You might feel different if I lined up on the edge where you had to guard everybody else. But in the box, I think it could be just in the box.
Yeah, that
in the box was different.
In that box is different, man. It's different. And I think a lot of people that had to line up in that box would definitely say the same. Like they respected, the way you played and, having to tackle you on a regular basis and cover you on a regular basis, worry about getting blocked. Like you did it all. And it was just, a lot of guys that play the game at a high level can appreciate, the impact that you had at the receiver position, especially playing in that slot.
If you had to rank the positions, so field corner, field half, Sam, boundary corner, boundary half, 1 through 5, and hardest to least hardest, how would you rank it? Because you played all over. You played all over. So if you had to rank it, what would be the hardest in those 5?
The Sam would be number 1.
All right.
2, the boundary halfback position would be probably 2. 2 in the boundary corner, boundary half, 2 and 3, because you playing the best 2 guys in the boundary pretty much. The field half would be 4, and then the field corner would be the easiest.
What was your favorite spot to play?
In Thorpe defense, I love playing the boundary halfback because I really didn't have to play man-to-man on anybody on a regular basis, and I blitzed a lot. Read? So I was more,
Did you route read?
Yeah, I route read. Yep, we route read a lot, but I never really had to. I was more so over the top kind of zone defender, blitzed a lot, active in the blitz game. So I was able to make a lot of plays when they tried to attack the corner because I was kind of hanging a lot. But boundary corner for me was just like my natural. Like I felt like I was in the U.S. when I played at boundary corner. So it was just natural for me.
Growing up in Pennsylvania, what high school did you go to?
I went to Mercier's Prep.
Was that a big high school? Like small school, big school?
We probably would be considered a small school, 2A. And in Pennsylvania, 4A was the highest. So we was a 2A. But prep school, so we didn't have as many students as everybody else. We only had about 35 players on the football team.
Okay.
So it was, smaller in nature.
Do you go both ways?
Yeah, I played quarterback in high school, and then I played corner. I never came off the field. I played punt returner, kick returner, kickoff, punt. I was on everything.
Yeah, that's like me. We had 23 players. We had 8 starters go both ways. Only time I came off the field was on kickoff team.
Yeah.
They just knew my ass was lazy, and I wasn't about to run down that field.
Like that. Hell no.
And then if somebody broke loose, I wasn't about to go catch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so I couldn't play safety.
That's funny. Yeah. My teammate on my team that played safety for us on the kickoff team, he was a 10-3 track guy. So shit, if you broke, you wasn't gonna make it to the end zone.
No, just tell them to go stand on the logo.
Yeah.
When they kick off, just go stand on the logo.
Yeah, he just chilling.
Man, I remember Quan Cosby, if you remember that name, played for the Bengals, played at Texas. I actually went and played baseball at high school, so he didn't actually go to Texas to play football, I think, until he was like 26 or 27, because he got drafted out of high school to play baseball. But I remember watching him play in high school. They had one safety in the middle of the field, and it was him. And I think he was a 10-3 or 10-4 guy. And they threw a fade down the sideline, and he just crushed the receiver. I'm like, how does he make it from where he was standing to time the ball gets there? He's hitting the receiver on the sideline. It's just amazing. That's what speed does, though.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I wish I had it.
Yeah. So growing up, you go there. What's the aspirations of getting out of college, and how did you end up at Iowa?
I was a basketball player growing up. I started playing football 8th grade. I played pickup, flag, just messing around, but I never really took it serious until the 8th grade. And my teammate, the other corner that played with me in high school my last couple of years, he just 8th grade, we played together. He told me to come and play football. I was like, man. But then I did it, played quarterback my 8th grade year. We went undefeated, so I kind of started to like it a little bit. I had all the high schools in the city was trying to get me to come play basketball for them. And then I ended up choosing the school that all my friends went to. For the first 2 years, we had all the potential in the world, all the athletes in the world, but, guys not showing up to practice, who rather hang out, smoke weed after practice than go to practice, or be after school than go to practice. So we would get in games, and even though we was the most athletic, we would not win because guys wouldn't be where they're supposed to be, just kind of doing whatever they wanted to do. So I transferred after my sophomore year because I couldn't do it anymore. I went to prep school, and then everything changed. I was with guys that was disciplined, showed up on time, ready to work. And then I went from losing every game to winning every game. And it was just different.
Probably less talent too.
Yeah, talent. We had talent too. We probably wasn't the most talented, but our discipline and the guys that we did have, the athletes that we did have, we all went D1. So it was like, we had role players, we had guys that knew was gonna play well, etc. Iowa, how that came about. My teammate, the other corner, was 6'1", 190 pounds, the 10-3 guy in high school. Won the state champion in the track in 100 and 200. Every school was coming in to see him. There was no question that they was coming to see him. Iowa really wanted him. But he told them when he was in there with them that he wasn't going to go there unless they offered his brother, who was our tailback. And they was like, nah, we really want you. Like, either you're going to come or you're not. He was like, well, I ain't coming. So he was like, I got a corner on my team, that's just as good as me that y'all should consider recruiting. If y'all not gonna get me, y'all might as well get him. And then the DB coach, he was getting ready to leave, and he came in and watched me at basketball practice for about a couple minutes, and then he called me over and asked me if I could dunk a basketball, and I told him yeah, and then he told me to show him, so I dunked it.
At 5'6"?
Yeah, 5'6". I ain't 5'6" now. I'm about 5'9" now. But he asked me to dunk the ball, and I dunked it, and then he just walked out. And then I was like, damn, well, maybe that wasn't impressive to him. But the next day they offered me a scholarship. So
awesome.
I was like, shit, it's a no-brainer for me. I got Kent State, I had offered me, and then Iowa. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Iowa, went on a visit. I knew it was a place to be for me. We already had 2 Erie guys there, Bob Sanders and Ed Hinkle. They were already there.
Bob's nice.
Bob
was just reckless.
Yeah, he was reckless. But, that's my guy growing up. So it felt like home for me. I knew he was going to make sure I was, taken care of and doing what I was supposed to do. He held me accountable, pushed me to my limits. So, he definitely played a part in how successful I was throughout my career. But coming in as a true freshman there, having him there over the summer, we went through the playbook we looked at that shit every day over and over and over again. He would quiz me, challenge me, ask me questions about adjustments, alignments, this, that, the whole 9 yards. So before training camp, I already knew everything that was going on. So my freshman year, the first week or two in training camp, I was making adjustments and ready to do things that the other freshman DBs didn't know nothing about because they didn't get there till training camp. Yeah. So I was already ahead of the curve, and I encourage any college player, to go. If you already graduated high school and you go into college, you should take the summer to go get around your new teammates and see what the vibe is like, get accustomed to the environment, learn the ins and outs about the next level. Because if you show up in training camp, you're going to already be behind 8 ball because there's a lot of guys that have been training throughout the summer that have been there, that's all vouching to try to get that 1 spot or 2 spots or whatever it is. So, being ahead of that curve helped me play as a freshman. And then I just made noise on special teams because, again, special teams is vitally important than offense and defense. So, that's how I really started to come into a zone. I was a gunner on punt, making plays, kickoff, making plays. So the first 3 games of the season in college as a freshman, we would have blowout games. Like the first 3 games was like warm-up games for us. So in those second halves, we up 35-42 to nothing at halftime. So coach like, get ready, you going in that corner. Then in those first 3 games, I had 3 interceptions in the second half of the games. So going into week 4, coach was like, shit, we got to make a decision. This dude getting the ball back for us. And the guy in front of me was a senior. They told him they was going with the freshman. And, he was pissed off. He didn't talk to me much no more.
But it wasn't your decision. I never understood that about players. Like, come on, man. Our job is to compete, push each other, make each other better. But I don't choose who plays and you don't choose who plays. So I'm not going to get mad at you for playing. I can be pissed off at the coach, or I can go grind. And I understand that situation. You didn't put in so much for 4 or 5 years and you get the job. But that's the thing about it. Somebody's always coming for the job. Yeah, absolutely. And that one thing they told us in the NFL that really kind of stuck with me is the player personnel guy came in to all the rookies and he told us day one, he said his number 1 job is to find somebody to replace you. So, and that really stuck with me because I'm like, damn, like it's that easy for somebody. Like there's millions of players that have the same skills that you have that can come in and play that spot. So you got to make sure you're on top of your game every day. And that starts and ends with competition, technique, alignment, fundamentals. You got to be sharp every day. So, I tell my players that now. Hey, you can't be even if he's cheaper.
No, hell yeah, you can't be even.
And with the pro game, it can't even be close.
Yes,
I used to tell Pete Costanza when he used to always come in there every time before training camp, hey Lou, come here, I got something for you. And he showed me these guys' highlight films. Oh, this guy's coming from Florida State, or this guy's coming from this school. This guy's coming from here. Look at his highlights. I'm looking like, let's eat. You know what I'm saying? Because I know their job is to replace me every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's their only job, is to get better. And the only way you can get better is for you to get better or for them to replace you with somebody better.
Right. Yep.
So you have to love that competition. Just goes back to what you were talking about earlier with some of your younger guys and just that mindset of saying, okay, I'm at a Division III school. I'm not as great as I can be. I might be the best player here or best in the conference, but I'm competing with people on the D1 level. I'm competing with people on the D2 level. I'm competing with people, that's semi-pro or, that's in these smaller leagues. I'm competing with everybody to get to this point. Right. And it's really cool to see that you had that mindset from an early age, going through high school, going through college, to get the job. I heard the summer program at Iowa is insane.
It is. It is. Like
I
it.
don't know if
It's
you what year did you get to Iowa?
2002.
Okay, so you probably know Jordan Babineau.
Yeah, that's my guy.
So Jordan and I went into Southern Arkansas at the same time. Jordan would
Yep.
leave Southern Arkansas in the summer and go work out with
And come work
Jonathan, his
out.
brother,
Yeah. Yeah. He
at
would come. I
Iowa.
remember that. Yep.
And he would just be like, man, their summer workouts are insane. But I could see the
Absolutely.
transformation of Jordan going from our junior year to from our sophomore year to junior year and junior to senior year. You could see the work that he was doing, that he was totally dedicated to doing that. My
Yep.
summers was filled with something different. I was hanging out, I was chilling, and I'll be working out on my own or working out with going to my senior year, I had a personal trainer and things like that. But tell us a little bit about that Iowa summer program.
Yeah, the strength and the conditioning staff at Iowa is exceptional. Coach Doyle, even though a lot of people think that he's a bad guy now after all the allegations and stuff happened, but he really take it to heart in preparing players for next level. So over the summer, we would do things. I mean, strongman competitions where we used to push gators, the big rocks that the strongman guys pick up and all that. Like we would have to put the rock on the back of the gator, push the gator 50 yards. Like, man, when I tell you, we used to go in the weight room, do all the core lifts and all of that stuff, but everything was a competition. Like one day we would have like a competition for, body weight squats. So like whatever you weighed, however many you could do, like it was a competition of the day. Everything was a competition, and everybody got better and rewarded from it because of how hard guys went. And I remember Jordan coming up for those years. I was actually a young guy, freshman, sophomore year when he came up. But he definitely was one of those guys that was, all about competition. So he fit right in to the fold of how we were doing things. And, he won a lot. Shit, Jordan was one of the best players. I mean, that a lot of us had seen. He was different for sure. And his brother was the same way. And I mean, that's why they played so many years in the NFL. They was different. But, that training program was definitely second to none. Like it was crazy. A lot of the stuff that we had to do and the shit that your body had to endure. Like it was definitely different.
Going into the Steelers, did you go as a free agent?
Yeah, I did.
So I talked to Shannon. I talked to a lot of guys about maturity when they first get to the NFL, coming out of college, or, expecting something different. What was your mindset going into the Steelers, and how did everything play out?
My mindset was I wasn't going in to be friends with nobody, and I was going in to try to get myself, opportunity to make money for my family. And if you was in the way, then you just was going to hate me because I was coming to try to get that spot, no matter how you felt about it. I mean, that was my mindset going into college, but going into NFL was different because we now getting paid. Like we're paid athletes to do a job. So I wanted to be better than everybody else. Unfortunately, we had some guys that was next level that was really fucking good. You talk about Ike Taylor, he was exceptional. And Deshae Townsend was a brainiac, like a very intelligent player who could see things and analyze and process things before they happen. Like, you got those two guys starting at the corner, and then you had Troy Polamalu and Ryan Clark was the two safeties. So, our secondary was like that. Like you got Pro Bowl players all over the field. And then I thought, in my estimation, our third corner, Brian McFadden, out of Florida State, was the best corner we had on our team.
Yeah,
and he was the nickel. So I'm like, shit, where do you fit in at? You got to get in where you fit in. So special teams was the only way for you to get on the field. So, being that I was a returner, that kind of helped me out a little bit. I was able to return punts and kickoffs. But shit, I went back to my roots, man. Like how it started at Iowa, I was going to do the same thing in Pittsburgh. I played on kickoff. I was a gunner on punt. I was on every special teams, and I was trying to get on film as much as I could so that other teams could see me. I never really thought about, just limiting myself to just one team. I wanted everybody to see it. If it was on film, the eye in the sky don't lie. So, I just went out, played, as the season went on, and I started to play more on special teams. I started to get more opportunities in the secondary, and I was able to make some plays, and they kept me for the second year. But the thing that hurt me was the fact that they wanted to go younger at the corner position with Ike and Deshae getting older, and then you had McFadden who was going to take over for one of those guys, and then they drafted William Gay. So it was kind of a decision they had to make. They had a corner that was going into the last year of his contract. Ricardo Coakley, he ended up playing in the CFL for a year or two, I think, at halfback.
Yeah. He went to Tucson. He's a D2 guy.
Yeah. So he was a second rounder, and he was going into the last year of his deal. So, it was either me or him. So they wanted to see if he was going to mount to, plus the defensive back coach, Ray Horton, he worked him out at his pro day and kind of fell in love with him as a player. So, he had him drafted that high. So you can't really compete with that, and my agent at the time really didn't help me out at all. So kind of hurt me more than it helped. Then I ended up in the CFL.
Ricardo, we, Division II does the brackets, the playoff system. They don't do the bowls. And I was hoping we got them in that playoff system because I was really looking forward to playing against him because everybody was talking about he was the best. And I was like, well, let's get it going. Right. I don't know if you know Evans Oglesby, played for the Cowboys and the Ravens, but played at North Alabama. But I gave him that business when we played them. And it's the same thing. I was always about that competition. Like, you show me who the best is, that's who I want.
Right.
That's who I want. I don't care about everybody else. If you're not talking about the best, I don't really care about it. But if you're gonna show me who the best is, let's go compete. Because even if I come up short, at least I know where I stack up. At least I know where I can go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Going to the CFL for the first time, you won a Grey Cup with Saskatchewan, but you're on the PR most of the year. How was it going from? First of all, what was your mindset coming from the NFL to the CFL? And then second, how was it being on PR most of the year?
When I first got there to Saskatchewan, they had called me for weeks, the general manager, and he said, they needed a DB to come in and play right away. So my whole thing was I'm trying to get on the team in the NFL. The phone wasn't ringing. So I'm like, well, this is going to be an opportunity for me to go kind of get some film and get back down south. So when I got up there, they put me on practice squad, and I was like, shit, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well go back home and keep waiting for a call. Why you got me up here and you told me you was bringing me in to play? And at the time, Eddie Davis was the leader of the group in Saskatchewan. Yeah. So, again, with my personality and how I competed, it kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Cause I'm like, listen, I'm not no scout team player. I'm better than this. So they would put me on scout team and they would try to do things and I would fuck the whole practice up. Cause I'm never going to practice bad habits. You want me to do something that I'm not going to do. So I would pick the ball off, run it back for touchdowns. And then they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, take me off a scout. If you want somebody that's going to get out here and just kind of go through the motions for you, put somebody else on scout team. And then they started me the second game because James Johnson got hurt. And I ended up going out there in the Edmonton game. I had, I think, 9 tackles or something like that. And then one of the tackles, I had hit a guy on the sideline. And when I hit him, I tried to strip the ball from him. And he spent off the tackle. And I ended up missing the tackle. So they called me in the office and said I was shying away from making tackles. I'm like, I've been doing this for I don't know how long, and I've never turned down a tackle in my entire life.
Playing in the Big Ten, too.
And I played in the Big Ten against running backs that was 230 pounds. Lawrence Maroney, first-round draft pick. Marion Barber, these guys, I got to tackle them on a regular basis. You mean to tell me this 150-pound receiver, I'm shying away from a tackle from? You make no sense. So, but it was just their way of getting him back on the field because he seen that I was out there getting to it, and he was like, I'm not going to give this dude enough opportunities to take my position. So he came back quick, and then they put me back down. They ended up keeping me on the reserve. And then the Grey Cup game, they put me on practice roster because in practice, LaPolice, he made a comment to the quarterback about hitting the receiver, when he come out the break, and he kind of made a gesture like, woo, it's going to be a big play. So mind you, it's like 20 degrees below zero. And we outside practicing. So I was like, nobody want to be out here. So like I mocked him at practice. And then they got mad about it. And they put me on practice squad for the Grey Cup. And I sold the ring because they put me. I was like, fuck that. Like, y'all don't value me as a player. So I was here for maybe 6 weeks. So you could keep your ring and all that. And I'm going to go get me another one. And it ain't happened. So I'm pissed. I sold my ring.
Going to Winnipeg, that's where everybody learned who Jovon Johnson was.
Absolutely.
You talked about the guys that you had around you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talent with the guys there, with Hef, who I got a hell of respect for. Come out there, hit, make plays, know the game, and compete. His compete level. You talk about Clint Kent earlier, Brandon Stewart, who came to Calgary first and then came over to Winnipeg, and I got to play with him, Calgary and Montreal. But, what was that like? Let's go to 2011.
Mm-hmm.
That was the year. It all came together. You guys were selling what was the shirt y'all had? Swaggerville shirts. Everything was going on. It just like y'all got on a roll, and everything just started popping. Talk to us about 2011 and how all that team just came together in that defense.
Well, the crazy thing is, in 2010, we were just as good. I mean, we went, and believe it or not, we went 4-14, but we were just as good in 2010 as we were in 11. We lost 9 games by 3 points or less. So, I mean, we just couldn't finish. And Cavis kind of brought us and introduced us to the whole match defense concept. And like nobody really ever taught us that. But then he ended up taking the head coaching job in Edmonton in 11. And then Coach Burke from Montreal came over. And he was more of a man-to-man guy. Like he only wanted to play man. He wanted to press, play everybody man-to-man. And I pulled him to the side one day. I'm like, listen, coach, I respect your opinion as a coach and how you want to do things, but we're so accustomed to playing this match concept and it worked for us with the guys we have. Can we mix it in? And he was like, yeah, but you're going to have to teach it. So I'm like, well, shit, that's easy. We've been doing it for a whole year. So we know how to do it. So just call it and we'll play it and we'll do it exactly how we did it before. So he ended up like, we would literally run 2 defenses. We would run match on first down. We would run man on second. Like that was what we did. Because he was like, well, we need to throw the timing off. That was his big thing, throwing the timing off between the quarterback and receivers. So we would play man-to-man on second. We didn't win them all. We lost some battles on second down, but we won more than we lost. So we ended up the first 8 games in 11, we jumped out the gates and was 7-1. Yeah. And but part of that was our defensive front was outstanding. We had Doug Brown, 6'8", clogging up the middle, Hall of Famer. Then you had Odell Willis and Phillip Hunt on the ends. I mean, shit, they was both speed rushers and getting to the quarterback. I mean, they was young guys and they didn't know no better, but they was modeling themselves after what Charleston was doing over there in Calgary. Like, you watch them, they was trying to model themselves after him. So, they did a great job for us. And then we had Enoch in the middle and Joe Lobendon as our 2 middle linebackers, which was both headhunters. So we had a defense that was just kind of the great come together of 12 guys that, just all kind of understood each other. So it all worked itself out. So that's kind of how it played out. And that 2011 team, we had 3 guys that could have been defensive player of the year. I just was fortunate enough to be the one to represent it. But I thought Hef's year was better than mine, in my honest opinion. I mean, the kid, he had 120 tackles or something crazy like that. He had 6 interceptions. He had probably 2 or 3 sacks. Like, ain't no telling how many PBUs. You know, I was just more of a media favorite. The media loved me because of one, Odell always did the whole Swaggerville thing. So it was like, you know, it brought a lot of attention to that. And then they always want to ask about who started it, who came up with the name. So like I was always in the forefront talking about Swaggerville. And that kind of put me over the edge with the media because I ended up getting more first place media votes than he did. But he got more first place votes from the staff, like the players and the staff members. So that's how I ended up winning. But he definitely had a better year than me.
Yeah. It's just amazing, you know, when, you know, athletes, how we can recollect and see all these different things. It's just like me when I talk about Rambo and talk about other people, and it's for me it was such an honor to play with those guys and to be able to go out there and compete and have fun and be on the same field as those guys and watch those guys compete.
Yeah.
And what I'm coming to is Montreal, and you know you're a basketball guy. I'm a basketball guy. I look at the Brooklyn Nets, and before we talk about Montreal, everybody talks about LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin going to the Nets and like, oh, it's unfair. Why are they going to the Nets? Why don't they go compete against them? But, you know, everybody was kind of talking down on them. But then I look at us all in Montreal with Ryan Phillips, you, myself, John Bowman, Chip Cox, you know, so many veterans that could potentially be Hall of Famers one day. All on one team, you know, SJ and Fred Stamps when I was there, and Suddy and Rutt and Steph Logan, and you know, so many dynamic players. When you got to Montreal, what did you think?
I thought that the culture was going to be much different than it was, and it's not even the players. Players aside, I mean, we had outstanding players, but I'm talking about the culture within the front office. I thought it was going to be much different than what it was. And you know, one thing I didn't appreciate was the fact that, you know, when you got those kind of players at your disposal, instead of utilizing the skill set and allowing them to go out and perform like you know that they're going to do because they've been doing it year in and year out for God knows how long. I mean, shit, we all did it for 10 plus years. And you don't use it. Like you have it, but you don't use it. Like I never really understood that logic. And that was my biggest thing with Montreal was, you know, we got Ryan Phillips and me in the secondary, 2 proven veteran guys, and Chip Cox at Sam that are going to lead these young up-and-coming players to the promised land, but then you don't use us. Like me and Ryan came in and we were second team. I'm like, what in the world? Like I've never seen this before, but let's go around this corner and see how it's going to play out. And I mean, they just never used it. And that front office was different to me. Like I never been a part of nothing like that.
I thought that you had a great training camp. I thought you had got hurt at one point. RP, same thing. Don Unamba, I remember he called me. He's like, hey, man, can you help me get back in the league? I made some phone calls. We brought him in. I thought he had a wonderful training camp as well.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
And then we end up going with nobody.
Yeah, so crazy.
It's like, what are we doing?
It was so crazy because I never seen nothing like that before ever. And I was just like, we got some guys that can make things happen, but you don't want to use them. So I don't know. Kind of hard to win.
What do you got to say for everybody? You know, you didn't, you know, when you wanted to retire, you said, hey, I'm not retired. I want to retire when I want to retire. What do you want to say to everybody about your career? What do you want to be left said? Like, this is the stage to just say what you want to say, to get off your chest, to leave it be.
You know, don't ever let somebody determine, you know, when you're ready to shut it down. Like, because at the end of the day, you know, I felt like my last year in Saskatchewan, hold on, let me get out this building. It was kind of echo a little bit. But my last year in SAS, I thought Jones really tried to, take my career away from me. And, I love Jones to death, and I think he's a hell of a coach. But instead of just letting me go out there, because I played the first 9 games and I was balling out. Like I didn't give up no big plays or nothing like that, but they wanted to go younger, and that's part of it. And I wasn't even making that much money, so it was never about the money. But they just, for whatever reason, was like, we're gonna go with the young guys and we're gonna win with them, win, lose, or draw. So we get to the playoffs and we got the board members. I'm in the press box with the board members up in the booth. And they like, why are you not on the field? I'm like, well, you gotta talk to y'all coach about that. And then we ended up giving up plays that should have never happened because of how they shaped the roster and had guys playing in certain spots. So, just never let nobody tell you or try to take away from you when you think you should be done. You decide when you're going to be done. And I think that's probably that was the hardest pill to swallow, is that. And I had some opportunities after that in 2019. I could have went over to Calgary and played with them, but I would have had to take basically a rookie salary, which I wasn't willing to do, especially after 13 years. I wasn't doing that. So, I just, adversity is going to hit. You always going to deal with that as an athlete, whether professional, college, high school, whatever level. How you respond to it is going to determine how much people respect you and how much credit you receive. And, I like to think that my career was what it was because I was the ultimate pro and I was the ultimate competitor. I was willing to put the team above myself. And, I had to learn the hard way. My first year in the CFL, I thought I was better than everybody, but, we had some really good players and a lot of great talent, but I just didn't see the bigger picture at that time. A young guy with a fire and wanted to try to win everything and take it all at once. But, I learned from guys like Eddie Davis, different pros that I played with that kind of got me to calm down and realize that, everything was going to work itself out. Just put the work in every day and show and tell, and don't worry about the results as much. If you put it on film, it was one thing for sure, 2 things for certain. They couldn't deny you if you put it on film every day. So, that's the biggest thing, man. Just, hard work every day, be, all about doing things the right way, and everything else to play itself out. So
when you look back on all you accomplished, from Defense Player of the Year, 4-year starter at Iowa, big time D1 school, 13 years of pro football, all decade team, CFL All-Star. How does it make you feel? Can you sit back and smile and enjoy what you accomplished? Do you feel like you accomplished everything that was enough to be successful in your eyes of what you wanted when you set out on that journey?
Yeah, I think I accomplished everything I set out to accomplish, but I still wanted more. I felt like I left a couple All-Star years on the table, just from my own doings, not making the plays that I knew that were routine plays for me, like dropping picks like that. That was one thing that I did a lot of throughout my career. I had years where I only had 1 interception on the year, and I should have had 6 or 7, just dropping balls, or fighting receivers for balls and that type of thing. I always got my hand on the ball, but I never really brought them in, as routinely as I should have. Should have spent some more time on the jug machine. Now that I think about it, after practice, doing extra work after practice on the jugs probably would have helped me.
Well, I got the record for hitting 1,000 yards with the least amount of touchdowns because I had one year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. That is crazy.
But you know what? I scored in week 17 too, and against BC. And Romby Bryant was my teammate that year. He had just came in from Winnipeg, and
Yeah, Ron.
Romby got the record for most yards without a touchdown when I scored my touchdown. then he was second on the list. But now we both got our own record. He's got the most without one, and I got the most. I got the 1,000-yard season with the least amount of touchdowns. So,
oh wow.
so yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming through the Lulu Logic podcast, man. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for sharing your stories. We out.
All right, man, Nick. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
All right.